Chat GPT came out with an expanded version of their graphical solutions.
AI computer generators had not been able to do up to this point, believe it or not, because it's a very simple thing, but to reproduce a full glass of wine.
I think if Bill Gates is right, he already figured out what he would do in 10 years, right?
He says we're entering a new era of what he calls free intelligence.
Yeah.
That's powered by AI, right? You can do like AI courses in AI-powered beekeeping.
Yeah.
Whale song analysis. These are real courses that I found online.
That's deep. I fully respect that
Whale
because
song
they're
analysis.
talking.
Yes.
I mean, what are you going to do? Hello everybody, this is Peter Mergel, executive producer of Sci-Tech Suisse. I'm here today with Ana Maria Montero in another Vibe Check where we cover a lot of topics, I guess.
Yes.
We talk about the trends in AI, we talk about education, we talk about fake news and the negative sides, ethics, and a lot of things. And I hope you join us. If you do like us, let us know. Definitely subscribe. We are all the social media channels on YouTube with more than 1.2 million followers, and Instagrams, TikTok, on all the social media, we're there. Do join us. Let's dive in.
Let's do it.
So maybe let's kick it off with the news of the day. ChatGPT came out with an expanded version of their graphical solutions, and we'll have some flown in this podcast so you can see what you can do with it. Absolutely fascinating. Have you seen this kind of stuff?
It's really incredible. And actually, I saw an article this morning, also by Forbes, saying that this new technology had actually been able to accomplish something that AI computer generators had not been able to do up to this point, which is, believe it or not, because it's a very simple thing, but to reproduce a full glass of wine. They had not been able. No, up to this point, it had only been half full or a little bit full. But to be able to recreate a full glass of wine had not been done until now.
Really?
Yes.
So this was not invented in California, I guess, right? So otherwise, it would have been definitely.
But it really was a bar. It was really something to be achieved, and up to this point, had not been able to do. And now we can do that, and it's incredibly realistic, and that glass is very full.
Oh my God! Well,
which is we can take that as an omen. You know, a very full glass is a good thing.
That's a
full glass of wine is a good thing.
Well, it's fascinating. I think in one of the other Vibe Checks we talked about my son being the AI photographer and whatnot, and he's very close to it because in the old days you had models flown in into exotic places with the product, be it a watch or whatever he was working on, or a car, whatever he was working on. But now you basically do it in the basement. Right? Yeah. There's no need for models anymore because they are fake news. The background, the whole surroundings is all computer generated, and a little bit to the detriment for him because he in his heart is an artist, meaning he wants to hold the camera that we are looking at here, and all of a sudden it's the computer he's working on. So this is sort of on the user side, the reality. I mean, it's fun to look at it, but on the user side, if you really come from the artistic side, you feel somehow limited, right? So or limited.
Yeah, and I mean, of course, this uncovers all kinds of copyright issues. You know, the machines are trained on material that's already created and copywritten.
Yes.
You know, now what do you do?
Yes.
Right? When people are just creating on top of creations and doing whatever they want. I mean, it is very exciting, actually, from a user perspective, all of the things you can do. And then you're like, wow, it's really quite cool.
Well, it's funny. If we sort of step back for a moment, I'm a little bit older than you. So I remember when internet came out. Right? So this was sometime in the 90s.
I mean, I remember when the internet came out.
You do? Okay, well. Well, I didn't want to. Okay, fine. So let's assume you do know. When you were a baby, you could walk, you learned about www, right?
Yes.
The World Wide Web.
Right.
And people thought, what the heck is that, right? And I read a book in 1994 by Bill Gates, who basically, and it was really interesting when I read it. He said, you know, the difference between me and a salesman is I'm already in your house. Because if you have a telephone, I'm there. A salesman has to knock on the door and say, would you like to buy an insurance and what have you. So that was very enlightening. So that was the first sort of experience with that. And it was very abstract, right? And that's how I feel AI was about 2-3 years ago. When we kicked off that podcast, Chat GPT just literally came out. And until this point, people never heard of this instrument, if you will. And now 2 years later, it's almost like with the internet, once the hype was gone, and every secretary at the time, or administrative assistant, we called it on Wall Street, was using it, then the hype sort of imploded. And somehow, from a philosophical standpoint, I think that's where we are with AI right now. Everybody's talking about AI. Everybody is sort of affected by it. Everybody is mentioning it. But sort of, where do you put it? Is it like, it becomes like business as usual? Right?
Oh, yeah, yes. Of course, it depends on the kind of work that you do, what you use it for.
Yes.
Right.
And how close you are to it. Like my son, for instance, in the photography business, very close. If you work somewhere at the IRS, probably it's further remote from it.
It's totally other. But speaking of Bill Gates, I've been reading a lot about him recently because he's putting out a new series on Netflix, which coming in September,
yes.
So I think he's already starting to do
no advertising for it.
Yeah, exactly. There's already that's right. But there's already, he's already been talking a lot about, and he's going to be addressing this topic of misinformation as one of the topics he's going to be looking at in that series.
Yeah.
And just talking about how
in the context of AI.
Yes, in the context of AI, because he says we're entering a new era of what he calls free intelligence.
Yeah.
That's powered by AI, right?
Free intelligence.
He calls it
what
free
a
intelligence.
Beautiful word. Let that sink in for a moment. Free intelligence. So not artificial intelligence, but free. Okay, interesting.
Okay. But he has a lot, but he does also have a lot of reservations. As positive as that sounds, he does admit to having a lot of reservations about it. But
really?
One of the things that really, he flat out says that I took home was that over the next decade, all right, advances in AI will mean that humans will no longer be needed for most things in the world.
Okay, so let me understand. So in 10 years.
In 10 years.
In 2035,
yes.
you're telling me humans will not be needed anymore for everyday charge, so to speak.
You're going to still need a good doctor. You're still going to need good teachers. You're
yes.
still going to need good lawyers.
Yes.
As we also learned, lawyers made the cut in terms of jobs
not being affected.
Yes, that will be more impermeable. But most there are a lot of jobs that we don't realize the impact of that just yet. And I was like, what? I mean, that's a little bit, no? I mean, as a journalist, I'm a little bit, that makes me nervous. And as a communications person, right? Because there's a lot that can be done with Chat GPT that doesn't need a body.
That is interesting. But I mean, let's assume we're 9 billion people in the world. And he's saying that in 10 years, we're 9 billion too many. The robots are taking over.
Look,
and
man,
AI is just doing it.
It'll make us more productive, yes, and it's going to make us more efficient and all these things. But there are so many jobs that will become automated already and will become more automated.
In a perfect world, he's right? Because he says the more efficiency there is, the less human input and the less error there is. Like in the industry, you had this revolution called 404 industry level where robots replaced people. First for health reasons, for safety reasons, and sometimes it's the heat, because if you do steel, you're talking about 1,000 degrees of centigrade that are there, so robots can handle that and whatnot. Or in the color business, paint is poisonous and all that. But now, if I were to think that, I wonder what happens with his job. You think he will be replaced by a robot? So in 10 years we'll listen to Bill Gates, the robot?
I don't know what he's going to be doing in 10 years. He's still going to be thinking, trying to resolve some of the world's problems. But he admits it's something that we're just handing over to our kids. This is for the next generation to solve. It's not something that he's still working on climate and, health crises and, things like this.
And nuclear stations that don't have any waste and what have you. Well, it's an interesting, I mean, there's of course 1,000 questions that come to mind. The first one, of course, is a social issue. So if we free our time, not having to do chores that are repetitive or can be done by a robot or by AI, what are we going to do?
Exactly.
What's the focus of our life? I mean, so far, the neural intricacies of AI are still in the learning stages. Eventually, in 5 years, we will have empathetic robots. We'll have that actually, understand your mood, that can interrelate to you and what have you. But at the moment, that's something that we as humans are very wired in. So maybe we're more on the emotional side.
Hopefully.
Well, it could be if there's space for it, if there's room for it. We certainly have to search for a new meaning of life, which is, by the way, a question that Plato already asked 3,000 years before Christ. So, so what is why are we here?
Right. So 3,000 years later, we better figure it out.
So, and Plato, I can promise you, had no AI. He used the shades in the cave and said, okay, this is the real person, or is this the real person? This was the conflict he was working on at that time. So I think if you look at it from a philosophical standpoint, AI has been, not the AI, but the issue of why are we here, who are we, what's the raison d'être, as the French say, or what's the meaning of being here, that has been around forever. And you know what? Ever since Plato, we still found something, right? We either started a war, or we invented something, or we conquered another country, or we had other inventions on the positive side. So I think I'm more optimistic. I think if Bill Gates is right, he already figured out what he would do in 10 years, right?
I'm sure he's figured that out.
Right? So
I'm sure
it's not going to be Microsoft, it's going to be Microsoft.
No, listen, I mean, when you read headlines like that, it's always like, 10 years, oh my God, that's tomorrow, right? It feels like, but, honestly, is it? I mean, I don't know. Are we overstressing ourselves? I mean, isn't the wine glass full? Right?
Could be.
But even so, I think, and I have several friends that have started to take AI courses. And all kinds of different things.
Yes.
And so I was, I thought, maybe I need to look into some AI courses because, hey, why not? What's out there?
So
what's
there's a
out there?
great best-selling book out there, right? Like AI for Dummies or something.
Well, I'm sure there's one of those. You have all kinds of people. I mean, of course, Harvard has courses. That you can get on computer science for AI, introductions to AI. IBM does it. I mean, Stanford University, MIT, of course, ETA, TPFL,
Zurich,
all of the universities here, and all the technical universities do it. I mean, it's really, there's a lot of offer. There is a lot of offer out there. I don't know. Maybe it's something to, and not costly. Just in case anybody's wondering, they're not so costly.
Really?
MIT comes in as one of the more expensive ones.
Yeah, it's like the 6-week course there or something.
Yeah, well,
how much
it's
are they charging for that?
About $3,200 US
Oh, that's not too bad.
It's not
for
too
MIT,
bad.
it's online, or you have to go to Boston?
That is a good question.
Probably online. Well, it's
It must
AI.
be
It better be online. It's not going to be like touch and feel where you actually touch the professor.
I don't think so. But then I did want to share with you that I found some more like out of the box AI courses. So you can do like AI courses in AI powered beekeeping.
Beekeeping?
Beekeeping, yes. It explores how AI can enhance hive management and optimize honey production.
Oh my God, poor bees! Now they are affected.
Now they're being
but
optimized.
Those are real bees, at least, or are those already computer?
No,
they're real bees.
Although I don't know with Chat GPT now, your fake bees. I don't know, AI bees, AI training for AI. But AI in perfume design. You got AI in sneaker authentication.
Yeah, that's a big one. Yeah, that's a.
Yeah, well, in brands. Yeah, especially for brands.
And also the running element and the soles. There's a whole philosophy that Nike sort of invented, the running shoe, because they were founded by one of the runners. And he differentiated to Adidas with having the experience of a runner and how a shoe for a runner is different, right? So if you talk to athletes, you understand. For you and me, doesn't mean stuff. But I happen to train with the Swiss athletic team out in Letzigrund, and so when you talk to these guys, they have a whole philosophy about their shoe.
Yeah.
That's their most important instrument.
I'm sure.
They have AI course in that. But isn't it funny? The second a topic comes up,
yes.
Because quite frankly, AI for me is almost like trying to build a chat engine, right? I have a lot of respect for logarithms. I have a lot of respect for Putnam and all the software you have to write in. It's not trivial. There's a reason why you have to have most likely a PhD in mathematics in that business. So in order, even for MIT to show me in 6 weeks how to use AI, let's be a little bit realistic.
It's probably quite on the surface.
So you know how it is, right? When the hunt is over, who's coming?
Yeah, the
vultures. Absolutely. The vultures see the business opportunity.
But
and who else than the Americans with the MIT and Harvard throwing asking for money for that, using their brand and what have you.
Absolutely.
It's fantastic.
Absolutely. And I got a couple more that I want There's one on AI and horror story writing. There are courses.
Okay.
In AI horror story writing and AI, and this is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Whale song analysis. These are real courses that I found online.
That's deep. I fully respect that
Whale
because they're
analysis.
Talking. What are you going to do? You're this huge animal in the water, right? In the middle of nowhere. What are you going to do? You peep around, you squeeze around, and this is what you do. There is people. That's a full-time job. Marine biologist.
Absolutely.
I lived in California.
Yeah,
in Monterey,
so did I.
Pebble Beach.
Yeah.
And you lived in California.
But I'm not. Yes, I'm not downplaying the importance of whale song analysis. I just, when I did a search of AI courses and this popped up, I thought, of course.
But how would AI? Did you read into what are you learning actually?
Just, you explore how they are applied to analyze whale sounds across various scales.
Wonder what we can learn from. See, this is probably what Bill Gates meant, right? We're going to worry about that stuff because our 9-to-5 job will be replaced by Mr. Robot, Mrs. Robot, and we have to worry about whale sounds and stuff.
Maybe.
Oh, it's great.
Maybe. We're going to all be communicating better and all kinds of different
or
scales.
take whale sound courses.
But
oh my God, poor whales! I love him so much.
I know. I'm also a whale fan, but yeah. I mean, yeah. I was just thinking about the whole the images though too. That keeps coming back to my head. Those where you can create anything that it's like, and it's just how do you manage the misinformation problem? Right?
The flip side of the coin.
The flip side, because now you've got this overabundance of information. All of this stuff, but how do you, again, if it's not trained properly?
I mean, we had a couple of vibe checks on ethics. And AI, and at the time was interesting because I just said let's read up in the dictionary, good old dictionary, what ethics is, and ethics is basically the moral understanding of a group of people in a controlled environment, which is kind of interesting because you think there's a global ethics. In a controlled environment. Well, controlled in a sense of a homogeneous environment, right? Mm-hmm. Controlled in the sense of, being sort of from the same thinking and what have you. So ethics is not an absolute term in philosophical sense. It is a very relative term. So in other words, Congo has a different ethics set than Austria. Austria has a different ethics set than the United States. Yeah. Okay? So in that sense, there is unfortunately not a global understanding. Maybe on a couple of things like murder is bad or stealing is bad or whatever it is. But depending on the country, stealing might be okay. So you never know. So this was the first revelation for me that ethics is not something you can address like love, death, life, the meaning of life, and what have you. And then you apply that to something like AI, which in one hand, the purpose of it is to help, to sort of increase the efficiency, to help the creativity, to make sort of limitless creativity. But the flip side, unfortunately, is you can use it for fake news. You can use it for what is real, what's not real. Big discussion in Europe. They just passed the AI law, where they said there should be some kind of like, when you look at a brand, there's a registered sign, a little R within a circle, that kind of thing on a video. Well, in an abstract world, it makes a lot of sense, but as long as you have your mobile phone, how the heck do you control it? And as I said before, the Chat GPT that came out today, I can do this on my phone. Yes. And if I do an image of myself as Colón, the guy who Bolivar in Colón was Christopher Columbus discovered America, there's no limit really. So it comes down to that we stress in the educational process a certain understanding of ethics, meaning you mom, me dad, to our kids, all the way to the educational system, the teachers, the professors, university professors, and then living by sample, which is a very fragile thing, but it is really the only way to control it, because the legalization of it or the waiting for the government to come up with a law, that takes too long. This instrument is way too fast.
And the harm is already done, you know?
Exactly, and so this is where it becomes tricky, and then you have, of course, governments that are not as democratic as we are here in this part of the world, and so how do you control it there? So it's a huge discussion.
I don't know. It's like you can't put the genie back in the bottle, right? So
in a way,
it's out there now, and as cool as it is, I honestly I have my own reservations. But Coursera does offer a course in AI and fake news detection.
Addiction.
Detection.
Oh, detection.
Fake news detection, which
okay.
I would be very curious to see. I have not looked into it, but how exactly they propose to do this, because.
Well, they have that in the sort of, the simple example is Johnny writes an essay, and at university level, they already have checked it for the last 10 years. If you were cheating, if you were rewriting, you didn't quote it properly.
Yes, but now
on,
it's
on,
even
on a
trickier.
local school level, it will be very difficult. I remember my school days, I don't know how about you, but my professor knew when I was writing something that's not Myrtle. I mean, he said, Myrtle, this is not your style, not in German, not in English. But that again comes to the microenvironment. It's the professor, it's the teacher, it's the parent who say, wait a minute, is that my? For instance, I have a 12-year-old, right, and she's obsessed with everything we're talking about.
But does she use Chat GPT?
Oh my God, she's using it. She cannot live without it.
Are you serious?
Well, I'll just give you an example.
Okay.
She sends me a WhatsApp in either perfect English or German, I forgot. And I said, wow, well written. I even wrote back, well written. And she says, yes, I know, Papi or Daddy. And I said, did you write that? She said, no, of course not. She's like,
well, at least she owns
she's
it.
living by Chat GPT. She's like, it's voice recognition, and it comes out, and she might add an emoji. Those are from her.
All right.
But the text in many cases is not anymore.
It's not even. Okay,
Yeah.
so it's not that she's recording what she wants to say to you. It's also like AI enhanced or
yeah,
something.
exactly. Yeah, so it's you can write it and it's enhanced,
Okay.
or it's talked and it's enhanced, and it's a great instrument for people with dyslexia.
Absolutely.
Because there you struggle the whole time, and here we are. So it's ADHS is one that's people that have a hard time sort of coordinating
disorder,
concept. It's a living tool. A very good friend of mine, she says, I thank God for ChatGPT.
Yeah.
I finally can write a resume. I finally can write a full sentence that makes sense. So there's very positive things about that.
100%. Look, 100%. I hear you 100%. I just always think that it's just so dangerous. There's that, there's just that when you shortcut too much, right?
Yes.
It's like, Peter, write me a media strategy for our podcast series. And then you can get on there, you can say, ChatGPT, you say, oh, I don't know how to write but ChatGPT can help me write a media strategy. And then you pump out this media strategy, and then you hand it over to me, but you don't know how to execute it because you've never executed it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So it's like, yeah, but.
But just to give you an example, for instance,
I'm not saying I don't use it. No,
that's okay.
I do use ChatGPT.
Just to give you an example, I mean, all we're doing today here will be on YouTube, will be on Instagram, on TikTok, and what have you. And one of the best filters against ChatGPT is YouTube. So, for instance, if I write a little write-up about what we talked about, a sort of a summary, and I said, just write something that Anna Maria talked about. Those were the topics. Do it for me. YouTube picks it up. So you have the filters. You have the filters really out there.
As I understand it, also now that you bring that up, there was something I think you shared with me on WhatsApp, misinformation on WhatsApp.
Yes.
That they are also there's also a filter on X that you can apply to misinformation.
Yes, that's a big one, because WhatsApp is still a very private, non-sponsored platform at the moment, owned by Meta. But they haven't put any ads or anything any product push on it, so to speak. So you think it's very private, it's very crypted, but of course hackers found ways to get to you. So yeah, it's as the Latin said, emptor caveat, buyer watch out.
Yeah. Yeah, which could also, that also is can be, because especially if you get more vulnerable older people, getting spammed or sent messages or scammed on WhatsApp.
Yes,
using,
well, that's
fake information. It's also
absolutely. I mean, those grandparent or niece tricks that you have. Oh my gosh, grandma, I broke my leg. Send me 5,000 Swiss franc or euros.
I mean, again,
dollars.
that's not new, right? We've been getting those emails from a while. That prince in Nigeria who needs like $1 million.
It's not the phone anymore.
Yeah. Now
So
the technology's changed. It's still there, but we're still battling the same demons somehow.
Yes. Absolutely. So it's interesting now that I'm talking to you. I'm a hobby race car driver, and one of the things I like in a race car is that the steering wheel, the pedal, the engine, the clutch, my butt on the floor are very related to the racetrack, right? So there's a one-on-one relationship between the car and me, similar to skiing. There's a rhythm in driving a car. Then, of course, the last 10 years, particularly the Germans, they came up with all those computers between the steering wheel and the wheels that sort of frustrate me. For instance, I bought my wife a Mercedes that the second I'm even close to that wall over there starts beeping on me.
Right.
Or, you drive on the highway and I forget to blink and I go on the left, all of a sudden it brakes and whatnot. So I went to the Mercedes dealer and I said, can you just turn all that
all
stuff
the sensors off?
He said, no, we can't.
Oh.
Because the Germans already produced laws that support all that. So they assume that every driver is a dummy and try to protect you. And by doing that, you have no control over the animal anymore. So it's really like the Sauce's Apprentice, right? So all of a sudden they think you totally go crazy on it, and they want to control it. And that's what I need. I need that direct feeling, similar to a race car. It's that touching, that feeling, that conversation we have, right? So this is real.
Well, we're going to have more time for that.
Well,
in 10 years.
And I think that's what Bill Gates is all talking about. It's like, we all mensch, as they say in New York. Well, we covered a lot of topics. Anything else that comes to mind that we haven't covered today?
No, I'm just waiting to go home and jump on that Chat GPT. I'm gonna put Peter on a horse with an Austrian flag, or maybe in a race car.
Exactly. That is wonderful. Well, thank you very much. I had a great time. I really enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed it too. If you like it, tell us, subscribe, and do join us on all the social media that we're active in. I would like to thank you very much. Thank you very much, Anna Maria. And all the best. Bye-bye.
Bye.